I am now coming off Highway 200, entering into Spring Creek Road. This would be the route, the only route you can travel for ingress and egress to the entire valley. We've discussed the danger of this road, and I also want to discuss the road conditions. The county needs to review the current road usage and the condition that Spring Creek Road runs into, and the added impact of an additional 75 in and out, so 150 ingress and egress on a daily basis on top of an already constantly deteriorating road surface. The road surface is quite slippery with a kind of a clay base. You also have very limited space for oncoming vehicles. Any person unfamiliar with this road would run the risk on blind turns as well as potholes, causing the loss of control and traction, enabling you to dive into Lightning Creek and Spring Creek. Notice the road conditions and potholes. Demonstrating just how dangerous this road could be for an inexperienced person not familiar with it. Notice also there is no real place to go other than up a bank or down into a creek. This road goes for approximately 2.3 miles before we get to the private road accesses of Stony Brook, Cherry, Shadow Valley, the bridge across Spring Creek, all before you actually access Sled Run Trail. My current rate of speed is averaging 15 to 20 miles an hour. Very conservative. Very deteriorated road surface conditions. meeting oncoming traffic is often around blind corners with no room for both vehicles. Notice we still have only a single access point to the highway on this side of Lightning Creek and Spring Creek. Sewell and Associates had discussed the utilization of Majestic Mountain Road as the emergency loop. Well, Majestic Mountain Road is at this point, and we are just coming to it, thereby demonstrating that Spring Creek is a single point access into this valley, and the emergency loop called out by Sewell and Associates does not take into account the fact that Spring Creek Road is a single access point. It's also important to know the International Fire Code requires 2 access points for more than 100 dwellings. There currently are over 75 dwellings supported by Spring Creek Road on the valley floor alone, without taking into account the 16 dwelling parcels that have already been approved by the county in Liberty Heights and Liberty Heights First Edition, and the additional 26 in Majestic Mountain, all being supported by this single access road, as well as the potential of the 16 dwellings in Shadow Valley Camp currently, and the request to add an additional 25 dwellings in Shadow Valley Camp for their overnight guests, far exceeding the 100 dwellings to a single access road. We've now traveled 2.3 miles on East Spring Creek Road, which now ends as far as county support and maintenance, and we are now merging on to Stony Brook. Notice the status of the end of the county road sign: no trespassing, you're entering private property, residents only. You are now on easements that are for private use only, not for commercial applications, and not for a retreat. Again, meeting another vehicle with very limited room. A caravan of multiple vehicles traveling to the camp and from the camp, ingress and egress, would create an extreme bottleneck for the current residents that these roads support. It would also hamper emergency vehicles from being able to access them. We are now leaving Stony Brook and merging onto Cherry. Again, private property, no trespassing. Residents of Cherry Lane and Liberty Heights only. Violators will be prosecuted. We are on Cherry Lane. Now we are now on what the map is calling Stony Brook Lane. We are bordering the DeMuro property, who supports a single bridge across Spring Creek itself, which again would be a bottleneck. It is designed for the residents only. That's why it is only one vehicle wide. And now we are turning onto Sled Run Trail. It's important to notice that the grade going up Sled Run Trail exceeds International Fire Code gradient. The gradient in the International Fire Code is 10%. We are now traveling at approximately 22% grade, doubling the grade rate for International Fire Code, thereby making this non-code compliant. Where we have now arrived at the Shadow Valley camp.